Selling is actually quite easy. It's all about spending time with the client, whether in retail or when they're a big institutional buyer. And you really have to get your point across, make them understand you, listen a lot, and then offer a solution. Really, it's quite simple.
This is ChallengerBrands, helping you build better brands and businesses. Hosted by Illustrado, the brand development and creative agency for ambitious and audacious challenger brands.
Welcome to another episode of Challenger Brands, where we talk about brand development, marketing, sales, entrepreneurship, and everything else to help you build better brands and businesses. I'm Lalaine Chu Benitez, Managing Director at Illustrado.co, and in each episode, we talk to inspiring industry leaders to give us actionable insights on how we can make everything better in our businesses, right? This time around, we're talking about sales, and let me tell you, I hate sales, or at least I used to, right? Because sales, being salesy, sometimes it's a little bit cringy, to have to go out there and try to pitch your products and services, but it doesn't have to be like that, right? So I'm hoping that today we can shed light on the real process of sales, which is nothing that's focused only on trying to sell something. Sales is so much bigger than that. And hopefully our guest today will be, guiding us on this conversation. I'm very happy to have Sharad Bhushan here with me. Sharad, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Big discussion today, Sharad.
Easy discussion.
Easy discussion, right? You always make things sound so simple.
Yeah, selling is easy.
Selling is easy.
Easier than you think.
I'll hold you on to that. But before that, let me just give, some context here. Sharad Bhushan here is the VP for Sales and Marketing at Standard Carpets, which is one of the world's biggest carpet manufacturing businesses. Standard Carpets ships to over 63 countries worldwide, right?
Yeah.
Over 1,000 product lines.
Quite a few products.
Quite a few products. And what we would like to understand, Sharad, is how you make sales the way you do, selling hundreds of millions of products to businesses around the world. So hopefully you can shed some light on that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Let's get started.
Okay.
All right. My first question, Sharad. If there was a quote or a line that's a favorite for you in the area of sales, what is it? Just to frame the discussion for today.
Well, my mentor told me once that sales is a relationship-based business. So you have to really get to know these guys. You have to get to know them personally. You have to get them, you have to get to know their families and everything. And you can build a better bond with these guys and you can sell a lot more. And since everything I do is more institutional, although I started in retail, so when I started working for Dell, it was all process-oriented selling over the phone. I never saw the client. It was retail. But then I moved into industrial sales where you're doing a lot bigger orders, bigger clients. You're dealing millions of dollars. So I have experience in both these fields. And then I realized that selling is actually quite easy. It's all about spending time with the client, whether in retail or when they're a big institutional buyer. And you really have to get your point across, make them understand you, listen a lot, and then offer a solution. Really, it's quite simple.
This is a total departure from what most businesses perceive as sales even today, which is crazy, right? Because I think right now, still a lot of companies practice traditional sales in the sense that they feel like when they pitch, people should buy.
Yeah.
Which is not really how it's supposed to be done. You're telling me something that's totally different. It's about relationship and being close to the client.
Yeah, so the moment you start to listen to your client, you're building a relationship. You don't have to pitch and pitch and pitch. You're not going to get more than 45 minutes or an hour max with your clients, no matter how big they are, no matter how small they are. So in those 45 minutes to an hour, you have to make sure you listen to their needs and then respond appropriately to that question they're going to ask you. You're going to get time to close your sale. You probably get 30 seconds or a minute to ask for it, to close it, overcome objections. But you'll get the time. But you'll have the best response only if you're listening. If you're pitching before listening, you are not going to get anything out of it.
Definitely. So you make it look like it's a more well-rounded process. It's a bigger process than just the pitch itself, right? So it starts from listening to the client.
Yeah.
Can you describe the steps that we have to go through when we're selling?
Well, you get an hour, let's say, to have a meeting. So you really have to set your intentions before going there. In your own mind, you have to convince yourself somehow. You don't know how yet. You don't know how you're going to close the sale. You don't even know how the meeting's going to go plan out. You might get abused during a meeting. You might be delayed. Yeah. You might hit traffic jam. Your flight might get delayed. You might have flat tire. You just don't know how the meeting's going to plan out because no one's God. No one can see the future. But what you can do is set a really broad intention that somehow this client's going to be better off with me than with my competitor. You just have to believe in yourself so much that somehow I'm going to get this sale. And somehow I'm going to give 100% to this person I'm going to meet with. And they'll feel it before you get there. And even if you're late, or if your flight's delayed, they will wait for you and they'll hold on to that feeling. So you have to generate that feeling within yourself, an emotion that really charges you up before you get there, right? And once you're in the meeting, you have to quickly declare to them why you're there. Just quickly and briefly, hey, my name is Sharad, my name is Jessica, my name is whatever. I'm here to get you sale. I'm here to get you business. That's it. And you leave it there. You don't know how yet. And then you really have to make that space your space because you're going to alien territory. So you ask for a glass of water. If they offer you coffee, you take it. And then you talk a little bit. But you don't overstep, obviously. And then fourthly, you just have to admire the business. You should do your homework, what they're good at, what they're not good at, and start admiring them right away. And that puts them at ease as well. Now, you've done a bit of talking right now. You're not done much. You've probably spent about 5-10 minutes max right now. You still got 50 minutes left. The next set of questions you're going to ask will set the stage for them to act accordingly. So then you basically ask very general questions about the business. How's it going? Are you happy with the suppliers? Are you happy with your service? Are you happy with what you're getting? And then you stop. Then they're going to start to talk to you. They'll tell you what they don't like, what they like, what's not happening. And then they're going to talk about 30 to 40 minutes. You just stay quiet. You say, maybe ask a follow-up question, but do not speak, do not close the sale. During the 30, 40 minutes, they will exactly tell you when to close the sale. Because they'll give you vacuum that's missing in their business. It could be a rep who's not being respectful to them. It could be a missing service or product line or something which is not priced well. They'll tell you exactly about 35 to 40 minutes exactly what's missing in the business. And this is where you have to be ready with the solution. And then in the last 5 minutes, you just say, hey, this is my solution. What do you think about it? Can we close this up? So it's actually a lot more listening than you might actually realize.
Yeah. You were saying earlier, it's about what? Is it 30% you talking and about 70% listening to what the client has to say?
Yeah, you're talking about 30% of the time. You're just nodding them, asking them questions.
Yeah.
Admiring them, general questions. And then you get specific. You might even see products lying in their showroom or in their office or in the conference center. Just ask questions even about a painting. Hey, who gave that to you? What is that? It could be from someone else, your competitor, who knows? But you have to be very general in your question and answering.
Make conversation.
Make conversation. Two-way communication on a casual basis. They know why you're there. They know you're there to close the sale. They just want to make sure they like you.
Understand, yeah.
And they can spend time with you. They're going to spend an hour with you. And if they like you, they're going to spend dinner with you. And then probably next few years with you. So you have to set the stage.
And I understand. I think you really need a lot of not just intelligence, but also emotional intelligence to manage this. Because if you're not listening to the client, you will not understand what they need. And therefore, you cannot offer the right solution to them, right?
Yeah. A client is always unhappy, no matter what you think. No matter how good a service you give them, they're never completely 100% happy with you or the competitor. And once you're in there, you're just like a sounding board. You're like a therapist. Just hit a bitch, just bitch at you, just tell you why they're unhappy.
That's very interesting.
And they're going to give you so much information during that, and that's your intelligence gathering, like you said. So that's when you gather intelligence. They give you so much data, and then you collect that and then pitch a product to them based on that information. It could be 6 months from now, 2 months from now, or you might have something right there. See, but you have to listen to get that intelligence.
Yeah. Again, just giving context to our listeners and to, the people who are watching us right now. Sharad with his company for the last 10 years, you've been at the forefront of facilitating sales in the hundreds of millions of US dollars. So I think what you're sharing is so important to listen to. Sharad, a lot of people are trained the old style of selling, right? They're trained in that old style of selling where they pick up the phone or they meet you and they immediately start selling to you.
Yeah.
Without trying to listen, without asking you questions. I mean, I've met a fair amount of people who are like this, and I think a lot of companies are still employing those skills or that kind of approach. How is a person supposed to scale back from that and adapt this new practice of listening to the client? How do they start? What's the first step for them to take?
Well, you're asking for model control. Like, how do you control the conversation? That's what you're asking for. Well, you control them by not controlling them, really. You don't talk about the business right away. You get people calling you on selling you a credit card. The moment you talk about a credit card, you don't want to buy it,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And then, but the guys you do buy it from, I never talk about a credit card. They're saying, hey, how are you? Can I talk to you? How's your day? Are you okay? I may have a service for you if you don't mind me talking about it, if you have time. And then you very slowly grow into the client. You have to have a two-way communication on a casual basis, which has nothing to do with business. Before you talk about the
Right.
business.
It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Because it's like for you to be able to successfully sell or to sell successfully, don't sell. Or
Yeah.
at least not at the beginning.
They know
not
why
at
you're there.
From the get-go, right?
It's like going on a date, right? They know exactly why you're calling them out. They just want to make sure you're able to listen to the shit.
Woo them a little bit.
Yeah. They just want to trust you. You're not going to run away if you hear something crazy. Right?
I see. So this is also a moment where you build trust. You build your even your reputation while talking to the client, making sure that you get those good points. You talked about admiring the client. Can you describe how this goes?
So sometimes your clients have been in an industry longer than you have been in an industry, even though you maybe manufacture or supplying service of some kind, but they've been consuming that service or their product longer than you have. As a result, they probably have more technical experience than you do. And if you find something they're good at, you should call them out right away and say, hey, listen, you're really good at that. We really think the way you approach the market is cool. Or the way you present your products and services, the way you present your company, your showrooms, the way your sales staff is, it's pretty cool. You can always learn something from them. So you should never have the ego complex. If you see something in them good, just admire it right away.
Why is it important to admire the client, and how do we not overdo it? How do we not do it in a way that it sounds disingenuous?
Well, they're never going to trust your admiration. They know why you're doing it, but you should still do it. It still goes through the layer. They know you're not being genuine. They know why you're doing it, but they still like it.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Even from the people who don't like
Everybody
me.
wants to hear, to
Yeah.
interrupt, everybody wants to hear good things about themselves, right? No matter how much we deny it.
Yeah, they know you're being fake. Yeah, they know why you're there for, but you should still do it because you might be 10% genuine in that, and they'll absorb that energy, and they like you based on that. Because there might be something actually you see in them that they don't see themselves either, or they don't find that compliment from other clients or other customers. So they might actually like it. You may have a viewpoint which is actually cool. It's quite possible. You should never shy away from admiring them, even though you run the risk of looking like a fake.
How do we not overdo it?
How do you not overdo it? There's no overdoing it, underdoing it. You just have to find a balance. Maybe a couple of sentences are good. Hey, we really like your ads on TV, or we really like your logo. It's cool. Simple 2-liners are great. Just, especially if it's first meeting.
Yeah.
You have to admire if it's your first meeting. If it's your second or third, you don't come for years, you don't need that much anymore. But you have to, if it's your very first meeting, you must admire your clients right away.
I guess also if you want to be a positive person, it doesn't take much to see the goodness in others, right? I mean, no matter how cliche that sounds.
Yeah. Not many people can see that.
Not many people can see that, though.
But there's
Yeah,
always something good to see in others.
I guess. You've spoken to us so many times because you're also involved in product development, right? Now let's go to pre-sales.
Yeah.
I think you've always spoken about the importance of developing product that really is geared towards the needs of the client.
Yes.
And that really helps you facilitate the sales. Can you expound on that, Sharad?
So if you've known your market for a while and you're trying to pitch a new product, if you take a product to your client without talking to them about it before you bring it, you're not going to sell it. You have to make them somehow believe it was their idea for you to develop the product. So if you have a new concept in mind, float it to them. Hey, what do you think about this? I'm building this. And they say, we don't like it, or they say, let's mold it a bit. They may have objections. So it gives you time also to, mold the product, overcome objections. So when you do have a finished product, 6 months from now, you're going to have a much better chance of closing it. So even though it's your idea of developing a new technology, a new service, you must always pitch it to them before you even finish it. So you're on the right track.
I like that. So
Because
they feel part of
they feel part of it.
part of
Because
it,
your market intelligence might not be 100% accurate. There may be something lacking in it. But overall, if you have a great idea, you must always talk to your clients about it before you take it. Otherwise, you're going to be in shock.
Yeah.
And
I think that's also one of the often overlooked concepts when it comes to marketing, is that marketing is supposed to be about the consumer or the customer. But I don't know if there are a lot of companies that actually go through the lengths of talking to the consumer about what they need or how they need it, what their pain points are. It seems basic, but not a lot of companies practice that.
I think the most loved brands always talk to their customers first before they bring a product out.
Very important point.
Customer is king.
Customer
You're doing it
is
for
king.
them. You're not doing it for yourself.
Exactly.
Every time I go make a product with a design team or designers come with a product, we're thinking of the customer. How does this improve the quality of service your customers bringing out of the product? So it has to be customer oriented. It has nothing to do with you. You go to work, you work for yourself here, but you're working for somebody else at the same time.
Yeah, just emphasizing that it's about the customer, it's about the consumer, it's not about you, right? Still on pre-sales, lead generation,
Yeah.
how to go about it. You talked about qualifying leads and all of that.
Yeah.
How do we get into this? When you're meeting clients for the first time, what do you do? Or potential clients, what do you do?
So if you're meeting clients for the first time and you don't know the scope, you don't know how you're going to convert them into a customer, you must prioritize what's most important to you and for your company and whether they match that skill set. So if you're looking for someone to bring a brand new product out in the market, do they have the outlets? You have to ask the most important thing, for your company first. You have to see what's most important to you, and then you qualify them accordingly. An example would be if I'm a manufacturer, I'm looking for a stockist in a country, the first question I ask them, do you have a warehouse? Do you have access to retail? You ask them the basic questions, which will make sure that the product gets in mass volume. So you have to know what's most important to you first.
Yeah, I think qualification or qualifying leads is so important because you don't want to waste the client's time and your time as well, right? So it's also out of respect for
So
both parties.
if you're going on a date, you ask, are you married or not? You ask
Exactly.
basic questions.
You can't date everybody, and then you find out they're married. You've already invested the time,
Yeah.
right?
And so it's a risk. It's a risk. You don't want to go cowboy,
That's interesting. Okay, before we start talking about dating and marriage and everything else that relates to sales,
Yeah.
we will take a quick break to say thank you to our sponsors for today, Rove Hotels.
This is Challenger Brands. Please subscribe to our channel and share our content. Follow us on our agency's social media pages, Illustrado.co, on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, or subscribe to our newsletter via our website, www.illustrado.co. Thank you to our sponsors for today's episode. Rove Hotels. Rove Hotels are a jumping-off point for city explorers, simply designed for the young and young at heart. Born in Dubai, Rove is an award-winning lifestyle brand offering well-designed hotels, fuss-free service, and great value in well-connected locations. More than just a bed for the night, Rove provides rovers, the missing link to connect you to the city like a local, and explore the track less trodden in a relaxed environment where you can be yourself. With sustainability, local art, and high-performing functionality at the heart of its brand, Rove represents a new niche of hospitality for the digital nomad looking to become part of the neighborhood, even when they're just passing through. Please check them out at rovehotels.com.
Sharad, you said that it's so important to build the relationship with the client, right? How do we even start that, especially for people who are introverts? How do you start building up a relationship with a client?
I mean, the sales guy or the customer?
The sales guy.
The sales guy is introvert? Well, if you're an introvert, you have a lot of stamina anyway. So that means you don't talk much in general, but somehow you pay attention to work. Maybe you like selling because you can talk to people. A lot of introverts are actually great sales guys because they're very shy in public, but once you give them a stage, like you make them sell something, they present themselves quite well and they can sell better. So if you're an introvert, you might be actually quite well suited for this job. And if you're an introvert, that also means you don't talk a lot, which means you listen more. And as a result, you'll be quite successful. It's not about talking, it's more about listening. So if you're an introvert, it's not that bad. It might actually work to your advantage.
So how do we make a step closer to the client without looking too eager?
So you have to wait for the right moment. So that if you haven't listened and if you haven't done your homework before coming there, you won't be able to present the final closing sale, right? So if you just go in and say, oh, every 10 minutes, so when are you going to buy? Can we sign the contract? It's not going to work. You have to ease them in. You have to
Relax,
let
right?
you
Yeah.
have to let the subconscious come out. They're going to give you all the secrets, right? You just have to be patient. Patience is the name of the game. If you don't get a chance, it's quite possible you might spend an hour with them and you still don't get the chance to close it, which only means that there's something missing in that equation. Either you're not ready to even close it, you don't want to close it, or the client hasn't given you the key yet. So you might need to probably invite them out for a drink or for dinner or something to open up a bit more. It's actually a really good strategy. If you are going to meet a client, you invite them for dinner the night before your actual meeting. And if you're an introvert,
Why before?
because you get so much intelligence about
Okay.
them before even the meeting. So then the meeting just
like
becomes
that.
a formality. You call them out for dinner or drinks, and you just talk to them about nothing. And in about 10 minutes, you're going to talk about the business because they're just excited to meet you and talk to you about it
Yeah,
on a very casual basis.
you hear a lot of people saying that deals are made on the golf course, right? In this case, deals are made over drinks or
Dinner
over
or
dinner.
golf or wherever, wherever you want to invite them. But you don't talk about business. You just have a two-way communication, and you'll see they'll open up. And that might even give you more time to get ready for the sale next day. That give you a whole night to come with a strategy. I've done that
And to
before.
really understand what they need, right? Or what's important to them.
Yeah, there's one client I was trying to close. It was the first big client I had. And I didn't know what price to give it to them because I didn't know what the limit was. I didn't know what the surplus was. I was trying to get you heard the term consumer surplus? You heard the term, right? So I was trying to get this surplus. I didn't know what was the surplus. I didn't know what price they could afford for it. And so we had a meeting the whole day. And we had no conclusions, with no deals, with no contracts, with no sale. So I said, let's just go for a drink. He said, all right, we'll go for a drink. And then 3 hours into the dinner, he said, listen, if the product lands for less than that, I'll buy it. And that was it. That's all I needed. So it took a bit longer for that client to open up. Right? Some clients will be very reserved. So it's not every time you're going to close in an hour. It might need more nudging. So for that, you either take them the night before or extend the meeting into the night, the same day. But don't let it go beyond that day because you will lose that window opportunity.
Okay.
They're primed.
All right. Let me ask you. So you do your homework. You have a nice product. You've asked your clients how you're going to develop it. You've done the dinner or you've taken them out for a drink. You've done a good sales call. When do you know that it's not going to happen?
It always happens.
It always happens.
Always happens.
If you do it like this.
I have a 100% close rate. There's not one client I haven't closed. And even the clients I thought are never going to buy, always buy. I remember saying, this guy's never going to buy, right? Because I'm like, he's off the charts because he's just talking too much. He's not listening to even anything I've said. But I think he fell in love with the product before I even, pitched it to him. So you're going to have a 100% close rate, guaranteed, if you just listen. You are going to close everything.
Okay. Just going back to that for our viewers and our listeners again, make sure that the product or the service that you develop has them in mind, has your clients in mind. You talk to them, you build a relationship, and you do a proper sales call, right?
Yeah.
And have more of a personal understanding of where they are.
You're servicing the client. If you're in sales, you're just a waiter, nothing else. It's not a very glorified profession. A lot of people think sales is glorified. It's not. You're taking a lot of shit from your clients all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're even taking abuse. They're not happy with the service. They'll bitch at you right away. They'll call you and tell you they hate you, even though it's not your fault. There's a lot of people working behind your back, making the product or service. You're just the front end of it. So it's not always all rosy.
That's my next question. What do you do when a client is being difficult or abusive?
Well, that's what you get paid for. And that's what you
Really?
have the freedom for. The price you pay for freedom. If you're in sales, it's most likely because you love freedom. You don't like an office job. You like being on the road. You like, tackling issues. And one of the issues you're going to handle is a very unhappy client. So if they call you unhappy, you just take it. You do not respond. You just take all the information, you note it down, or an email, or you register the complaint, but never react to it. You say, yes, okay, mate, I'll come back to you. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, I'll get back to you, but never react to it. You wait for a day and get back the next day, not the same day. You got to let them cool down a bit. So it gives you time to do your work where everything has gone wrong. Maybe some in the computer system, a glitch in the email, product malfunction, whatever it is. But you got to find out what the issue is and come back to them the next day, not the same day. Give
So
them
you let
time.
them simmer down, yeah?
Yeah, you let them simmer down. But you listen to them completely and do not talk back.
I understand.
Very rarely you can talk back.
How do you balance then being a good client servicing person to one that allows abuse in the workplace? How do you balance? Because sometimes you lose your authority, or a lot of people, they feel like they lose their respect if they have a client who's like this. How do you balance that now? Being good with the client and still having that respect, having that stance of being an authority figure for your business as a representative of your business.
You mean what do you do when a client gets abusive? Well, you have no choice but to take it. You never respond back because unless it's your company, if you own the company, you can respond any way you like because you're taking the entire blame for it. You have only yourself to blame. You can tell the client to get away. I never want to see you again. It's your prerogative. If you own the company, if you're working for somebody, you can never ever respond.
That's true.
Because you're working on behalf of someone else. You have to take it to your boss or someone else. Bring forward the issue, presenting issue, then come back with a solution. Let's say you have a lot of authority still. You work for a company. You never really respond back to abuse. But if it persists, and if the client is being overtly, won't stop, it will come out in other ways. You may not give that client the best price or the best product. You may put your attention in other places. That's your choice always. But it's never a good idea to get back on the client ever.
As an entrepreneur, would you fire a client?
You would never fire a client ever. No matter how emotional they are. They're just having a temporary emotional response to a market situation which they cannot control. They're just bringing it out on you.
What do you do then if you don't fire them?
The best way to do it is to even come back with a killer solution that they can't even leave you even after that. You have to keep coming out with better products and services. So they're always with you. You never give up. And they'll love you for it in the future. They'll apologize. If they've been rude, give it 1 year, 6 months, 2 weeks, next day, they will apologize. There are no bad people in the world. They're just lost sometimes. And they're just mad. And you're the perfect person for it. Because they know you'll take it. They know you won't fight back. So they're going to give it to you. their family might fight back, their children might fight back, their wife might fight back, but they know you won't fight back. So
This requires a lot of resilience because you were telling me earlier that you just have to keep coming back because maybe no today
yeah,
might mean a yes tomorrow.
it's never a no. A no today can be a yes 10 minutes later, because the ground is always shifting. You have competitors, they're making mistakes. So there's always room to close. There's always room to move in. You have to be in constant touch with your clients. Call them weekly, monthly, whatever it is, the rate that's most convenient and most comfortable for the client. You can't call them every day. Some clients like to be called every 2 days or 3 days. Some don't. But have always communication, so you can know when to pitch in, because someone's always screwing up. Someone's screwing up, always. 100% guaranteed.
So just because they
You're
said the
dealing
no
with people.
today,
You're not dealing with robots. You're dealing with emotional people who can't control themselves. So they might yell at the client, or they might do something, and hey, you come in.
What is the biggest selling mistake for you? If you can articulate that in a very simple way, what's the biggest selling mistake? What should people not do when they're trying to sell?
Biggest selling mistake is to not know about the client before going in, having not done your homework, a little bit of it. And you look like a clown if you present a solution which is not what the client needs. The second thing is moving in too fast to close the sale. And the third thing is becoming too friendly with the client. Your client is not your friend. Your client is what the client is. You're providing a service. You can befriend them over a period of time, but the business needs always come first. You should know that they don't like you as a person. They like your product and service. And over a period of time, they may like you as a person, but that can fly away like that the moment the product flies away. So you become uncompetitive, your price is not good, you're out too. There's nothing personal.
There's a very thin line, isn't it? I mean,
Thin line.
in one way, we're saying that you have to establish a relationship with the client. On the other hand, we're saying you're not friends with the client, right?
Yeah.
Can you define how we can put that line?
It's a sword with two edges.
Exactly,
That's
yeah.
it.
How do you do it?
It's the game. You
Yeah.
love the game. That's why you're in sales, because you love it. Because any day you could be fired and any day you could be number one. But you must really love the game. You must have what you call a taste for there's a word for it, I forget, but you must really enjoy it, the process in sales, which means always good communication with your clients.
Again, going back to almost the same question, how do I even know if I should have like a more personal conversation with a client? Like, for example, we here belong to a region where people are like, they meet you for the first time and they say, how's your family doing? How's your wife? How's this and that? Are we too personal? How do we start this relationship but still keep that line that, at the end of the day, this is about business?
It's always about business. Even if you ask about the family, it's always about business.
Okay.
If you ask how the family is doing, it's not going to help you close the sale. You have to address their needs end of the day. What's important is two-way communication, the casual communication. You have to find the inroads. You have to find that mental balance. You have to connect with your client mentally at a personal level, which has nothing to do with business. That frequency you're looking for is you're going to find when you enter this space and you start looking at the stuff, you start admiring them, asking for a cup of coffee, you're trying to reach that two-way communication. That is a gap you're looking for to really connect. Right? That's what you're looking for. But once you do that, then the business gets easier. You see what I'm saying? It's a thin line.
There's a thin line, yeah. But don't forget one bit that it's all about business, guys, right?
Yeah.
Always remember it's about the business. Salesy people. This is one of the reasons why I used to hate sales myself, right? There are a lot of salesy people out there. What do you think of people who still have that kind of a
I never wanted
approach?
to be in sales. I hated sales. I think the only reason I'm in sales, because when I graduated, my grades were so bad. The only job I was offered was in sales, and I dreaded it. And I remember I got an interview with a company and they asked me, why do you want to be in sales? And my answer was, because that's the only job opening you had. Obviously, I wasn't hired for it. And then I Googled, why do you want to be in sales? And the answer is because you want to control your paycheck. So the second job I never had was with Dell Computers, and they asked the same question. Last question they asked me, so why do you want to be in sales? I said, because I want to control my paycheck. And damn, I was hired the next day. But I still never wanted to be in sales. But once you learn that there's a process, there's a model of control, that the way you communicate results in a better performance, in a better sale, you can learn that. So sales is a process. And most of it is actually asking the right questions and listening. It's not that hard.
Once you get into
Once you get into it. But it's still a process. It's still a bit of science to it. It's still a model of control that you can follow.
What's the type of person who's best suited for this kind of a job? When we're hiring people, if we're entrepreneurs, if we're in HR, if we're trying to hire a sales team, what attitudes, what mindsets are we looking for here?
You're looking for someone who's able to not react, overreact. You put them through a test, maybe give them a questionnaire, have a sales test procedure. You just look at the questions they answer. You're looking for people who don't overreact to a situation, who are not overly emotional. You're looking for almost cold people in sales. The best sales guys are actually a bit cold. They don't overreact. They understand the business. They understand about money. It's about performance. And they don't get too excited about it. They don't get too excited when they sell well. And they don't get too depressed when they don't sell. I'm saying they're able to keep that balance. So you're almost looking for, a cold personality in sales. Because it takes a lot of effort, a lot of resilience. And you need to be constantly out there taking shit from clients sometimes.
So you need to be relentless also, I guess.
Relentless, energetic, but definitely not someone who's very excitable.
Then you get affected by each and every result.
Yeah, you're not looking for someone who's overtly emotional and gets excited about everything. And definitely someone comes to you and says, I'm really excited to be in sales, never hire them.
Even keel. That's what we're looking for.
You're looking for people who are saying, I want to get paid for my efforts. I want to be in sales because I enjoy making money. And I want to be in sales because I want to control my paycheck.
Okay.
I read that on the internet 15 years ago, but that actually means something. So the people who are in sales are only in sales because they can control their paycheck. They don't want to be told what to do, but they want to go out there and outperform and make money for themselves.
The sale is finished. You've landed your biggest contract. What happens then? What do you do?
Well, you thank your client. First thing you do is always say thank you, no matter what happens. No matter how small the order is, how big the order is, you always say thank you for the order. That means a lot to them. I remember one client, I had a disagreement with him when I started saying thank you. He called me, hey, he started giving me thank you emails. That meant a lot to him. All right? And I did it intentionally to piss him off because he was being rude to me. So you always have to thank them. And secondly, always follow up. Call them after the product or the service have been delivered, how they're experiencing it, what technical issues they're facing, performance issues, what's the market feedback, how can the product be improved, what's the competitor feedback. You should even talk to your competitors slightly if you can. But definitely ask them routinely how the product is performing and how it can be improved. Because that's when you get your pitch for the next meeting. You're always taking data.
Okay.
You're always taking data as a
All
rep,
right.
in sales.
So how do you rope them in? How do you keep them coming back? So you said you thank them, you get feedback. What's the third step?
Like Warren Buffett said, you delight your customers. The way you can delight them is by listening to them and then in return offering a product that they actually desire, creating desirable products.
Will you actually ask for a recommendation or a referral from your client?
Always.
How do you do it?
I actually just ask straight to my client, says, who else can I sell to? Always.
Will that not be a conflict of interest or?
Yeah, but you still ask. And they'll give you. And they say, well, if you go there, I'm not going to buy from you, but at least you know where to go. Always ask them, hey, who is your biggest competitor?
Okay.
Ask them.
That's very, very bold, right?
Yeah, but they want to play the game too. It's just a game, right? You enjoy the process. It's
You
not
ask
do
them
or
like
die.
that with a twinkle in your eye, right?
Yeah, and then they said, why? I mean, I just know where to go to just in case they screw me over. So it's a joke. Again, you're building two-way communication. It has nothing to do with business. You're just talking, right? They'll give you 100% of the time. They'll give you, and you can actually know where to go. They almost give it by accident sometimes.
Yeah, that's good. So you use this as a prospecting tool also, as
Yeah, just ask
prospecting
them,
tactic, yeah?
Who's your competitor?
Ask them who their competitors are. So that's a very good tip, Sharad. We've come to the end of our podcast. Please give our viewers and our listeners your biggest piece of advice or any last words you want to give them.
You can never control your return on investment in sales. You can never control it. You never know where your next sales is going to come from. You cannot control it. But what you can control is how you respond to situations and how you communicate and how you take care of your clients. So if you're taking care of their needs, if you're taking care of their wants and you listen, you will end up being very successful in sales.
Super. Thank you so much for these tips. And hopefully our viewers and our listeners have really taken some very important actionable insights from our podcast today. Thank you so much for joining us. And remember, sales is not just about selling. Please do develop products with your customers and your clients in mind. Make sure you develop those relationships and don't forget to say thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharad.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, super. Thank you.
Please subscribe to our channel and share our content. For more actionable insights on brand and business building, follow us on our agency's social media pages or subscribe to our newsletter via our website, www.illustrado.co.